Okay, Malaysia and Singapore are very close. We are close friends. And in fact, I met a mutual friend, Mr. Goh, there. Okay, so today I'm here to talk about some of the guidelines for foreigners to own and buy a property in Malaysia. Okay. So a short introduction of myself. This is my name. I'm the managing partner of a legal firm in Malaysia. Actually, this slide was quite some time ago. Now I'm in practice for 20 years. So I don't look that old, but anyway. Okay, so we've been doing a lot of developer work for buy and sell. Okay, as well as, you buy from secondary market. Okay. So I come to the main question, can foreigners buy property in Malaysia? So I just came back from Korea, and the Koreans are very interested to buy property in Malaysia. Why so? They reflected to me 2 points, which is very interesting. Okay? Number one is you can buy a property, a landed property in Malaysia. And that's very rare in the whole world. Okay? In Vietnam, you can only buy a leasehold property. Whatever property freehold that you buy, it is still a leasehold. And then only when you sell to a foreigner, to a local, it becomes freehold. So in Malaysia, it's the only place that you can buy a freehold property. Okay? And, of course, with the exchange rate from Singapore dollar to ringgit, is super affordable. Okay? And the buying costs are low. Why do I say that? So I'll further explain on that, because buying cost is very important, okay? And also the financing is available, and there is a free flow of capital. When I say free flow means, please don't bring Singapore dollar 1,000 into JB all the time. Okay, because the custom officer are quite vigilant now. Okay, so actually you don't need to do that, okay? What you need to do is you just transfer the money to the legal firm, okay? And you just have to declare that you are buying property. That's all. You don't have to worry about any tax or physically bringing the money into the money changer and change the money. It doesn't make a very big difference actually, and you run the risk, a lot of risk, okay? And I must say, throughout the world, we are still considered lower capital gains tax. So like I've been discussing with Mr. Goh there, capital gain tax did increase, but it's still considered low, okay? Okay, so that's why I say that it's attractive to foreign investors. So what are the restrictions and requirements that you should know about? The property buying restriction that you should know about is there is a minimum price for foreign purchases. Okay? There's a minimum price. What does it mean? It means that you have to buy the property at a low minimum price wherever the property is in. Okay? So we have to be careful here, because everyone thought that 1 million ringgit imposed by our government applies to all states, but it doesn't. Okay, so you will have to depend on 3 things. Okay, number one is where the property is located. Okay, that means it's which state. Okay, and the title of the property, whether it's strata or individual, meaning that whether it's a condo or a landed property. Okay, and third, whether the buyer has a MM2H visa or not. I think the MM2H counter is over there. Okay, what is the minimum purchase price? As a guideline, generally is 1 million, okay? For the last week, Malaysian government has announced the new budget at 600,000. But we have looked into the rules and suggestion by the government, and also I have discussed with Deloitte, okay, Deloitte Malaysia. And this YB Lim Kuan Eng actually clarified that 600,000 only applies to properties and developers that have difficulty in selling that project. So it's not all project, it's only certain project. So I don't know whether it's a good idea for you to buy that project or not, even if it's 600,000. Okay, so sometimes I would suggest you have a clear look at the place and do a lot of research. Okay, so as a general guideline, it's 1 million. Okay, in almost every state except for 4 states. I'll list it out. Okay, so it's up to the state authority. So every state, so just like every constituency in Singapore, it's up to the state authority to decide. Okay, so this is the minimum purchase price based on individual and strata title. So basically, Johor, Kuala Lumpur is the same. And of course, everyone knows Malacca. Malacca is slightly different. It's 1,500,000. That means in Malacca, if you buy a landed property, it must be more than 1 million. Okay? In Malacca, you want to buy a condo, it's 500,000. Okay? And the weird thing is, actually, I wish to highlight is Penang. Because a lot of Singaporean, of course, my clients from Singapore, they like to go to Penang. Why? Maybe the Hokkien Mee is better there, I don't know. Okay. Penang, they go there for the health service also, for Singaporeans, as far as I know. And it's very weird that in Penang, there's a Penang Island and mainland. So there's a slight difference. It's 2 million and 1 million. Okay, so Penang, there's an island. Okay, island is more expensive. Okay, you have to buy a more expensive property, whereas in the mainland, that means in the peninsula itself, the main body of West Malaysia, is cheaper. It's still 1 million. Okay, so please take note of that. The rest of the state, I think, is listed here. Okay, what are the exceptions for foreigners that you cannot buy in Malaysia? Okay. Okay, number one, you have to be careful. Okay, sometimes investment in land, you will come across people trying to sell you a very cheap land. But bear in mind, you must check this. Number one is this Malay reserve land. If it's designated as Malay reserve land, in Malay it's called Tanah Rizab lah. Huh? Okay, okay. This type of land can never be owned by foreigners. Never. Virtually never. Okay? It's only for the Malay indigenous. Okay? The second one is low and medium cost. Of course, this is for government to benefit the low-income people. So you can't buy. Okay? And the third is Bumi Putra. If it's under the Malay quota determined by the state authority, you can't buy. Because all these are the pitfalls that usually foreigners will encounter as so many years. Because it's cheap. They offer you a cheap price, you pay them the money, but at the end of the day, you don't get the title. Okay? So this we must be careful. And the last land that is deemed to be agricultural land. So meaning that the land, there's a category to it. The category is agriculture. That means it's rice field or kelapa sawit. That means oil palm land, rubber estate land. Unless, this is the part that I want to highlight. If you are interested to invest in land, okay, if it's over 5 acres, there are some land that you can buy. Some, okay? And if it's used for commercial purposes, okay? So I think the land one is a bit complicated, but as a general guideline, you can look at this, okay? Okay, conditions for the foreigners to purchase the property is under 433B of the National Land Code, okay? Foreign purchasers, you need to be approved by the state authorities. But a lot of my clients ask me one simple question. They ask me, actually, what did the state authority check on me? Well, I didn't do anything wrong in Singapore or Malaysia. Right? Maybe I drive faster in Malaysia, I don't know. But other than that, I have done nothing wrong in Malaysia. So what's the thing that they cannot approve? So I have yet to encounter any non-approval, okay? And I also can't answer the question what they really check on. But I think they are only checking on whether you are controlling the price in that area. Okay, so for example, if today you go into Malaysia and you start buying 20 or 50 units of condo, then they are worried because they worry that you are controlling the price. Okay, so I believe that's the main thing. Okay, then the state authority approval will usually take from 6 weeks to 6 months. Again, everyone asks me why so long, why the duration so big. We also don't know. We don't know what are they checking, or maybe they are just slow or what, we don't know. Okay, but usually with our experience now, it takes about 1.5 months to 2 months only. Okay, and then with this approval, only the title of the property will be transferred to you. Okay. Okay. The application procedure is that you have to sign a form. If it's a secondary market, you have to ask the legal firm to prepare the form for you. But usually, if you go to the developers, around here, they will have a pre-prepared form. Okay, so you just need to apply for the financing to purchase the property. If I'm not wrong, now it's about 60% to 70% maximum for foreigners. And foreigner, then you just execute the SPA. SPA is not SPA, it's sales and purchase agreement. Okay, and deal of mutual covenant, if any, and then you pay the 10% to the developer. Okay, that's the standard procedure. Okay, so the documents that we need for the consent is actually the SPA, there's the agreement, the passport, and the latest quick rent and assessment receipt, and the application form. Okay, I wish to talk a bit on the passport, because I noticed that Singapore passport do change. So please give the latest, okay? But even if you don't give the latest, it's still okay, so don't worry, okay? Then foreigners will pay the balance of the purchase price. I think everyone does that, okay? There's one note that I wish to add, because a lot of my clients do ask me, what is the third schedule of Schedule H or the SPA? Okay, the third schedule of the SPA is something like, if you buy from the developers, you are actually protected under our Housing Development Act. Okay, so it means that at every point in the construction, let's say you buy a condo, you start with a flat piece of land. Then you slowly build out the foundation, 10%, 20%, up until maybe 50 floor. So at every stage, okay, you have to pay. So, but one thing that I need to highlight is, under this HDA Schedule H, all foreign purchaser or local purchaser are protected, because if the developer has some defects, okay, within 24 months or 36 months, you can actually complain to our Housing Controller Board, okay, about the defects. Then the last payment won't be released to the developer. None of the developers are looking at me. Okay, so actually don't worry about all this. So actually you are protected, okay? So the other thing is, the money will be held inside what we call a HDA account. Okay, so the developer has a designated account whereby all your payment of the money will pay to the account, and it will never be released until 24 months, until the whole thing is released. So the housing controller will see whether there's any complaints, okay, and whether the developer rectify. So I think it's important that the developer has a strong team to rectify the defects also. So a lot of foreign purchasers tell me that they are very busy, they cannot come in and keep seeing the defects. Well, actually what you can do is, you can notify the legal firm who have done the SPA for you, and the legal firm will, if it's a proper legal firm, they will actually advise the developer to help you rectify the defects and hold in the money. I think that's very important. This is one knowledge that a lot of purchasers do not know, and they keep feeling that they are in a danger, but actually you're not. Okay, actually you are protected. It's just that whether you know it or you don't know it. So, my view is you read the SPA, but if not, please remember you do have this right, okay, under the Act. Okay, yeah, 36 months, they have to give the vacant possession. Vacant possession means your CCC, I don't know, okay? And vacant possession means they give you the keys, okay? After the delivery of the keys, then they will change the title to you, okay? So foreigners can buy at a lower price, being that you don't have to pay for the consent. Okay, there are some fees for the consent. So if you join this MM2H, you can you can avoid that cost. Okay, you can talk to the MM2H counter. Okay, this is the MM2H minimum purchase price, which is lower. Okay, what are the costs of buying property in Malaysia? Let's talk about costs. Okay, deposits 10%. Stamp duty. Stamp duty means you want to change the ownership. You have to pay a tax or a levy to the government. Okay, it's based on a table, which I will explain later. Solicitor fee, yes, lawyers, you do need to pay them. Okay, and then agent fee, if there's any, if you go through an agent. Okay, state levy fee means the consent fee that I tell you about. Okay, and the settlement of the 90%, which is for sure, you know. Okay, the subject to the stamp duty is calculated in this way. Okay, the first 1%, okay, is 100,000. If you can see the small print down there. Okay, the next 100,000 to 500,000 is 2%. The next 500,000 to 1 million is 3%. So I give you an example. Okay, scenario. If you're buying a property at 1.5 million, okay, the first 1% is 100,000 is 1,000. So the next 100,000 to 500,000 is 8,000. The next 500,000 to 1 million is 15,000. Okay, the next 1 million to 1.5 million is 20,000. So you add all that together is 44,000. Okay, this is standard. Okay, but there's a lot of scenario where some lawyers tell some people got the wrong calculation. They think that it's 3%. And they just times 3% against the 1.5, which is wrong. So I would like everyone to note this because, you know, you don't want to get cheated out of this. It's very clear cut. Okay. Then for the professional fee, we go by this scale. Unfortunately, for lawyers, is 1%, and the more you get, we get paid less. So please don't worry about lawyer fee. Okay. Okay, so example. So it's the same. First 500,000 is 1%. Next 500,000 is 0.8. And then 500,000, next 500,000 is 0.7. So it goes lower. So the total legal fee is 12,500. Okay, again, some lawyers should be honest about this. It's quite standard. Okay, but if you buy from our developers, I'm sure they already have a package with the lawyers. So in fact, usually you don't have to pay legal fees. Okay, lower legal fees, and if it is controlled by the HDA Act. Okay, that's what I'm saying. Okay, it's stated here. Due to time constraint, I just go a bit faster. Okay, so the legal fees will be less. So just now the 12,500, you have to times 65% if you are buying a project. Okay, so please. Any one of you need these notes, I can email it to you. It's not a problem. You can just get my name card later. Okay. Then what are the taxes? I think a lot of Singaporeans also ask me about if you rent a house in Malaysia, you buy the property for investment, what are the tax? Okay. So it depends on whether you are resident or non-resident. Okay. Status. Okay. As in Australia, I think it's the same. I think in Bangkok, Thailand is also the same. Okay, so they will be a category where you are resident or non-resident. Okay, so the taxation is calculated at the level. Resident status for foreigner is 0 to 25%. Non-resident status for foreigner is 25%. Okay. For sale, okay, this is something that I was talking to Mr. Goh also. RPGT has increased. Okay. Last time for foreigner, okay, I go faster. Last time for foreigner is 5% after the 5th year. Now it has changed to 10%. And then for locals, okay, individual, for citizens, last time we don't have to pay after 5 years. Now, unfortunately, we also need to pay for 5 years, which is 5%. Okay? Okay, this is one interesting topic that I was talking to Property Guru. In fact, I think there's a misconception that if you, for example, you are a Singaporean, you have property in Singapore, right? You do a will in Singapore, okay? But you also have property in Malaysia. So what do? Everyone feels that in the Singapore will, you just include the Malaysian property. But my advice, for faster, to benefit your beneficiaries, for faster, cheaper, easier way of doing it is actually you can do a will in Singapore to dispose of your property in Singapore. Then you do another will in Malaysia, okay? And you don't, if you pass on, the Singapore will doesn't have to use it in Malaysia, which will have a lot of other issues. So in Malaysia, it's more simple. Okay, you can just do a will on your movable or immovable property. Personally, I have opened, I think, more than 1,000 safe in Johor Bahru banks. Why I opened 100 safe? A lot of Singaporean, they keep a lot of gold, a lot of love letter in Malaysia. I don't know why, maybe far away from Singapore. So I opened a lot of safe, and all those safe, when, they pass on, no one claim. So at the end of the day, all these gold and diamonds all go to Malaysian government. I don't take it, okay? So it goes to the Malaysian government. So at the end of the day, I feel that it's best that you do a will so that your next of kin can actually benefit from it. Okay, the age of majority is 18. So if you don't do a will, it goes to the government. Okay, it's called intestate. And intestate, we will have to go by Distribution Act. Okay, 1958. So at one time I was having me in City Square, and one lady came up and sit there, and I saw her holding a legal letter, and she was sighing all the time, like, hi, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? So I talked to her. I said, hey, why you hold a legal letter? He said, because my husband left me. He told me he got some other estate and what in JB, but I don't know where is it. How do I find it? How do I find it? But I got a will, I got a legal firm. But the legal firm is not in operation anymore, and she don't know how to go around. So I took pity on her, and I told her to go to the Malaysian Estate Board. So it's a long process for you to go and find all this. Malaysia is not online. You cannot really find everything online. So she has to go from one place to another. So I actually finished a me and I brought her to the place. And unfortunately, she can't find it also. So my advice is, if you do keep things in JB banks safe, it's either I open it or you all please do a will and put it in your Singapore house so that your next of kin can get it. That's just my advice. Okay, so intestate, you will go against, it will be distributed by Distribution Act. Okay, if it's you testate means you have a will, it goes by the Wills Act. Okay, intestate will go by this distribution. Okay, whether fair or not is the law. Okay, you can't get away from that. Okay, and these are the meaning of the words. Okay, issue means children and descendants of deceased children. Okay, child means legitimate child. Okay, in China, one not counted. Okay, so if a person dies without parents, spouse, or issue, his estate will go to persons in this order of priority. Okay, brother, sister, grandparents, uncles, and aunts, if you can prove, and that is very problematic. So my advice is don't go there. Okay, it's best just to do a will. Okay, if there's no one at the end of the day, no proof, it goes to the government. Okay, so you don't want that to happen. Okay, okay. The application is you have to go to the court, and if your if your property is less than 2 million, okay, it has to go to the small estate department. And all of this is in Malay. So unless you get a lawyer to do it, you really, it's a bit difficult. And that auntie that I met when I was eating mee, she has to go to the Amanah Raya. Why? Because what the husband left behind was very small things. But she goes through the torture of thinking that something in JB, but cannot get it. And she has to go around to get it. Go around to find where is it. So I think, good preparation is advisable. Okay, there is some stamp duty for transfer of property before death. Okay, after death, it's only 10 ringgit. So if you do a will in Malaysia, okay, it will benefit your descendants or next of kin. Okay, it's only 10 ringgit. Okay, that's 3 Sing dollar. Okay, so in the will, you just need an executor, okay, and 2 witnesses. Okay, you have to consider by doing a will is someone is willing to be your executor. Means if you pass on, someone that is trustworthy to you. All right. Usually it's the spouse, if not the siblings. And then there's a witness, okay? If there's a dispute, then the witness is important. Okay, then all the value of property, all that, usually the lawyer will advise you, okay, how to do it. Okay, if it's charged to bank, then you have to discharge from the bank. So that is something more complicated. It depends on situations. Okay, so that's all for my talk. And I will advise everyone to do the will because Malaysia is not online and it's very difficult to do it. So it's easier for you to just do a will with the lawyers. And doing a will with the lawyers is actually not expensive. So I advise everyone to, consider doing it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Are there any questions for Chris before we move on to the next session? Oh, okay, this one.
Yeah.
Will it benefit if we enroll in the M2H for the rental? Is it at 25%?
No, I don't think there is any benefit for the rental tax. Oh, Airbnb. Okay. One gentleman here is asking whether if you do your Airbnb to your property in Malaysia, whether there's any tax. Okay. Okay. Currently, okay, it's a loophole. Okay, there's no tax. Okay, but if you do a rental in Malaysia, okay, now the Malaysia, as you know, changed government. So unfortunately, the government comprises of all lawyers, mostly lawyers. So they are smart because now they start to link, since last year, link the stamping office with your name. Okay, for 3 years ago, you can rent the property, stamp the agreement, and the government doesn't know. Government not around. Doesn't know. Okay, but now they know. Okay, so whatever that you stamp, you have to declare. If you don't declare, actually they will know. It's online already. They match the thing. Okay, just for your information, last year, the Malaysian government actually applied to link the Singapore database to Malaysia database. Okay, so they applied. But the funny thing is, 10 years ago, Singapore already got Malaysia's database. I don't know why. so unfortunately for Malaysian, if we have money in Singapore, they already know. So yeah, so to your question, now it's very difficult. And the stamping must be done online. Okay, of course, a lot of people will ask me the same question. If you don't stamp the agreement, so for example, my house is rented to this gentleman, okay? So what if this gentleman, have a lot of party inside my house? Burn down the house. Okay. Or he start, doing, selling drugs inside or what. This kind of thing you can't avoid or you can't control. Then what's going to happen? Okay, the police will come around and you arrest me as a house owner. I think the more important thing is if you have a condo and you rent it out without a tenancy agreement, okay, what if the tenant doesn't pay you? Then you have a problem. Because then you cannot use that agreement to ask the lawyer to apply to court to throw him out. You have no right. You can't throw him out. Neither can you break the door to go inside and push him out. Am I right? Or neither can you go into the house and throw his thing outside on the corridor. You know, he will come back and make a police report. So I think a lot of protection will go into the tenancy agreement, and it's actually not a lot of money also. Okay? So any other question? Huh? Okay, that's I think this gentleman is very experienced here. Okay, if there's problem, then you stamp. Okay, now there's a problem. Because it's online, once you stamp, okay, the date is there. Okay, the date is there. So once the date is there, if your agreement, let's say you rent to me, I rent to you for 2 years already, but now got problem only you stamp. So the government will ask, hey, what happened? How can you stamp? The stamp date is 2019, but you tell me that you rent to me at 2017. That means I don't owe you any money. I just started renting only. So this is one issue. So that's why I say there's no choice. They link the whole thing, right? Okay, sorry.
Rented property in Singapore need to buy the fire insurance. So rented property in Malaysia need to buy the fire insurance.
Okay, I think that's a good question. Landed property in Malaysia, there's no requirement to buy fire insurance. Okay, the requirement only comes when the bank, you get a bank loan. The bank require you to buy the fire insurance. That's all. But the fire insurance for a house is only less than 300 ringgit, if I'm not wrong, or maybe less than 500 ringgit. So it's not a lot of money. Okay, it's just the bank. It's not because you need to buy. Yes. 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 When you purchase the house, you need the loan. You get a Malaysian bank to finance the purchase. The bank requires you to get the fire insurance. But under the law, you can own a house without fire insurance. Yes. Yeah, of course. Of course, yes. Yeah, sorry.
May I know what's the difference between buying properties in Malaysia via private limited set up in Singapore compared to private limited set up in Malaysia?
Sorry, your question means that you want to buy a property in Malaysia
Via company.
using companies in Berhad, that means private limited, versus Singapore.
Yes.
Okay, I'm not sure about the Singapore side, but for Malaysia, okay, you can buy property using Sdn Berhad, but it depends on what kind of property that you want to buy. Okay, my advice is, usually if it's a commercial property, then only you use a Sdn Berhad. Okay, because you need to operate some kind of business on that piece of property. Okay, but if you are just buying a condo or a house, it's not advisable to use Sdn Berhad based on few reasons. Number one is because the costs. You want to maintain the Sdn Berhad, the private limited, you have to go for audit. It's a compulsory. Under the law, you have to go for audit. Okay, means you have to get an auditor, you have to maintain the books of accounts, and that is a lot of money. Okay, so my suggestion is, if for residential, even if you want to rent it out, you don't have to use Sdn Berhad. But if you are investing into 50 houses for Airbnb, maybe you can use Sdn Berhad. And the other downside is Sdn Berhad loans are usually 50 to 60%. Okay, under your personal name, you can probably get up to 80% or 85%. Okay.
Is there any difference if buying via investment holdings compared to operating company?
Okay. This thing, we actually went into detail, especially with the tax department in Deloitte. So foreign companies, the problem with that is just because of the tax. There's no difference, but it's just because of the tax. Okay, so if you buy under investment, the tax is different. But if you buy under a Sdn Bhd, just say you are a trading company, you need a shop house to operate your company, then that's not a problem. And I think the benefit is that for private investors are usually because you can declare some kind of expenses from the Sdn Bhd, from the limited company. Okay, but it depends on what type of use you are going to go for the property. Then I will give you a better advice, I think.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.